afternoon. Oh, this is loud, that's good. You could hear me, right? Okay. So again, my name is Daniel Katz, and I'm here interviewing James Katz. I want to dispel some rumors that are swirling about. We've never met.
That's right.
We don't know each other.
That's right.
We're not related.
No.
As far as we know.
This is not an academic or admissions forum advocating for nepotism in any form.
This is not a nepotistic boondoggle. We are here because you, in fact, have an extremely impressive background and resume that I think will be instructive to students and prospective students, particularly in how graduate education can lead you in all sorts of really interesting and important directions. And as Mr. Ostendorf said, you're the Executive Vice President and Chief of Staff of the New York City Economic Development Corporation, which is charged with implementing the mayor's initiatives to promote economic opportunity, income, mobility, and job creation. I'm going to ask you in a moment to expound on that. You are responsible for the day-to-day management of the office of the Development Corporation. And you oversee external affairs, diversity, and policy divisions within the Development Corporation. Previously, you served as the executive director of Mayor de Blasio's Transition Committee, and also as senior advisor and special counsel to the New York State Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman. You are a graduate of Brown University, also a good school. You obtained your law degree and your master's in public policy from Harvard University. So you've accomplished an enormous amount. So let me put it to you first. Could you tell us a little bit about what the New York City Economic Development Corporation does and your role in it?
First, I want to say thank you to Metropolitan College and to my non-relative, Dr. Katz, for having me here today. Delighted to meet everyone and to talk about your career goals and my own trajectory, and to the extent any of that is helpful and informative to you, that's really exciting and gratifying for me. Your question, New York City's Economic Development Corporation is a not-for-profit entity affiliated with the City of New York. Our president is appointed by the mayor, the chair of our board is appointed by the mayor, and we are, as Dr. Katz said, charged with promoting and carrying forth the city's initiatives to create income mobility, create jobs, and promote growth. Do that through a number of different strategies. First and foremost among them is investing in the foundations for growth in our neighborhoods. That is through a large-scale capital construction program that builds infrastructure to activate affordable housing and to make sites ready for commercial development where people can create job opportunities. It also entails managing, depending on how you count it, about 20 million square feet of city-owned property, which includes everything from the ground leases under LaGuardia and JFK airports to industrial properties in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, to the food markets up the Hunts Point Peninsula in the Bronx, where half the city's food supply runs through. We also have a pillar of our strategy that entails investing in 21st century jobs. So this is mostly programmatic, but also physical work through our real estate division to try to activate the kinds of jobs in the future that we really want to see here in New York City. That's tech, ed tech, fintech, health tech, any tech that starts with a hyphen and creates an opportunity for somebody to work in a fast-growing field. That is the life sciences, that is what is sometimes called the maker space, people making everything from robots to trapezoids to presents for their friends and loved ones on 3D printers to fashion manufacturing in the garment district. And then our third prong involves investing in good-paying jobs accessible to New Yorkers from all 5 boroughs. And so that includes our work in the industrial space to try to activate spaces where industrial companies can put folks to work who may or may not have a college degree or even a graduate degree like the kind we have tonight in good-paying work. It involves our work in fashion, in food, and in a number of other verticals where we have a series of programmatic initiatives to try to support companies and cultivate them as they grow.
So, in hearing you talk about this, it seems like incredibly complex work. I'm guessing that you are working with a variety of different government agencies, probably working on not just the local, but even state and federal government agencies. Also, you're working with a variety of industries in the private sector, unions. There's probably nothing that you do, and I live in Brooklyn, so when you said Sunset Park, I thought there's probably nothing you do in which civic organizations of all sorts of stripes have something to say about it.
So after college, I spent a number of years doing union organizing and grassroots organizing around the country, all with a view of trying to promote a more inclusive, equitable society across the United States. In about 2005, I started thinking about graduate education and realizing that in a very traditional kind of American story way, and one of the narratives that I think underlies our immigrant story here in America and many other things, that your power to affect change in any realm of public policy that you might be interested in, be it the equity agenda like I was just talking about, be it foreign affairs, be it healthcare policy or any other thing, is dramatically increased when you increase your own capacity to learn, synthesize information, and act on it. And so I went to go pursue a law degree, not with the clear sense that I necessarily wanted to be a traditional lawyer carrying a briefcase and a rumpled stack of papers and trying to act like Perry Mason when it suited me, but with an idea that I might be able to apply that to a social change orientation. And so spent some time at a traditional law firm and then moved into this kind of mission-driven work. When the new mayor got elected at the end of 2013, he was somebody with whom I had worked for a very long time, and I wanted to be a part of that progressive administration and that vision. To my mind, when you think about the tools that are available to a mayor of a large city such as New York with its 8.5 million people, and the tools that are not, as you say, in the control directly of other stakeholders like our colleagues in Washington or our colleagues in Albany that are available to that mayor to try to promote the equity agenda, two jumped out. One, and it's probably the biggest, is our city schools, which have been under mayoral control for several years now.
And then the second was the real property assets that were under the control of the city's Economic Development Corporation. And thinking about how to activate those places and spaces in a way that promotes jobs, opportunity for New Yorkers from all 5 boroughs, and also turns those spaces into vibrant hubs for communities and neighborhoods to congregate, live, work, and play was a really exciting opportunity for me. And so I took this law degree, decided not to really be a lawyer, but to try to use the skills and the toolkit acquired through that to promote that agenda through this vehicle.
So can you talk a little bit about the Master's in Public Administration that you took at Harvard?
Yep.
And this is the 4-year program, the joint program in law and public administration, 2 years law, 1 year, and then back to law, something like that, right?
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. You go back and forth and back and forth.
So a little bit, if you can recall, way back when some of the coursework maybe that you took, did you take courses in intergovernmental relations or public policy?
So that program, I think like the one here, although defer to you and the dean on the curriculum, is a really good one that in some ways is modeled off of a traditional business school curriculum, right? You have sectors and cohorts that you spend a lot of time with doing problem-solving work based on case studies, but with a much more explicit orientation towards a toolkit that would serve in the public administration context. So that was skills and tools like statistics classes, econometrics classes, basic accounting classes, basic classes on political theory, all of which are part of the core at the Kennedy School and maybe here as well. And then a series of elected classes that have real broad application on leadership, problem solving, dealing with public policy issues in time was one of my favorites that I took, right? How many of the great issues of our day that plague us, like climate change or any of the other big ones you could think of, would be less dramatic if somebody had found the political will to act on them when we first knew about them rather than when they became a crisis. And through all of that coursework, it sort of created as I said before, a toolkit to begin thinking about public policy problems writ large and these ones specifically.
We have a number of students here who are, earlier I said I was from Brooklyn. I thought there would be, is there anyone from Brooklyn in the house? Yeah, so where's the noise? There we go. This is the polite section of Brooklyn.
I haven't seen that section.
No, neither have I. Not in 30 years. But there is, we have students here who are interested in public policy and affairs. We have students interested in MBA, education, a variety of different programs. If listening to you, maybe for the first time someone says, you know what, maybe I want his job. And they're pursuing education or the MBA. Could they work in your office or would that be useful?
Yes, I mean the short answer is yes, right? And part of that goes to the broad nature of what economic development is and could mean. So to cite the 2 degrees you just called out, the MBA and the Master's in Education, a big part of our practice and a big part of what we do involves selling and leasing city and other publicly owned land to try to activate it for commercial uses, for job activation, for housing, for affordable housing, and in that context, people with the toolkit to understand financial transactions, read a balance sheet, read a pro forma, and negotiate a deal are essential to that practice, and indeed that whole practice is filled with people who have MBAs. And then on the education side, a place where we are focusing more and the mayor is focusing more is on workforce development. There is a traditional schism in the city of New York between its workforce development system and the skills it teaches versus what employers actually need at this moment in time to hire folks out of that system. And so through the Career Pathways report that the mayor put out, probably 18 months ago, there's a real programmatic effort to connect the city's workforce system in real time to the demand loop that employers have for people to work in their companies. And in designing those kinds of programmatic interventions, people who understand education and pedagogy are invaluable.
Apologies in advance if one of our students does take your job in a year or two. But let me first open it to the group here. Is there any questions at all that what we've talked about today has provoked? What is your best advice for students going into a public affairs degree, starting a public affairs degree now, in terms of thinking about future possibilities?
Sure. Well, all advice of this kind that you'll get from anybody is reflective of their own experience, subject to their own biases, and probably is an indication of them projecting their own either goals or regrets onto you, and hopefully some of it will actually be applicable to your situation. But my advice would be, if you are looking into a public affairs degree, good thing to do, great toolkit to get. Think about specializing early and think about what you want to do at the back end with that degree. There are any number of people running around the city who say, I want to work in policy and I have a degree in policy, and that's wonderful and that's great. But if you can say, I am coming out of grad school knowing something about energy policy or international affairs or healthcare policy or education policy, and have a deep background, ideally rooted in some workplace experience, which I know Metropolitan College values highly and has embedded into the program, I think that's really important.
James Katz, I want to thank you very much for your talk this evening. It was really instructive. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
To Metropolitan College as well as City and State for the opportunity to share with you about education and the public sector. So 20 years ago, I was on an airplane with a colleague, and there was an advertisement in an American Way magazine that said, do you want to start your own business? And we decided at that moment to start a not-for-profit for people with developmental disabilities to help individuals in New York City and under-accessed communities receive supports and services. So to date, we've been able to grow the organization where we're servicing over 1,300 people throughout the city. We have a couple hundred of employees, and we've really built an organization where people with disabilities are considered to be as equally important in New York City as any other disenfranchised or demographic group.
So I know that you have been graduated from Harvard, and what have you done to get to where you are today?
I guess I want to correct just one thing. I didn't graduate from Harvard, even though I would love to. I got a bachelor's at Lincoln University.
Okay.
I got my law degree from Brooklyn Law School. I received Six Sigma business black belts and green belts from Emory University. I've gotten certifications through compliance and ethics certifications, and I'm currently working on a PhD in public policy. How I got here is a very good question, because this is a place where I didn't think I would ever get to. But what I decided was, in the 4th grade, I was held over. I had to repeat the 4th grade. And I think in that moment, I decided that if I wanted to change my life, I had to invest in myself and my education. So I had to spend time trying to figure out a way where if I wanted to do more and be more and accelerate, that there was a part that my parents couldn't help me with, there was a part that teachers couldn't help me with, that I had to really invest in my own education.
So why do you feel that pursuing an advanced degree is so important today?
I think that there's a lot of discussion about, do you need to continue your education? I can tell you that I've been able to, and that you will be able to, do more, think about the world differently. You'll be able to inspire other people. And there is a part in every employment opportunity where if you want to be promoted, you have to know something different and able to bring something different to the company. So at some point, there has to be individuals that don't just do the norm. If the norm is what we wanted in business, then everybody would be doing it. There is this part about innovation. There is this part about organizational development. There is this part about, in the public sector, how do we service different people? If you want to be able to do that, I think you have to learn new skills, and you have to constantly be in a place where you need to learn something, not just for yourself and your family, but in the companies that you're going to work, and hopefully in some of the companies that you're going to start, that you're going to want to accelerate your own capabilities.
What are the biggest surprises you have when you are working on this, nonprofit organization?
I think the biggest surprise that I have is I love people. I think that I'm surprised by people. I'm surprised by a group of individuals who have been considered less than in society. I've been surprised by families who, regardless of how difficult it is, continue to thrive and support their family and loved ones. I'm surprised by the staff that really go above and beyond in order to make sure that our organization is a leading service delivery provider in New York City. I'm excited about the fact that when I get a chance to talk to a group like this, I see myself 20 years ago. I see myself 25 years ago, where there was an opportunity for someone to inspire me to do something different. So I think what I'm surprised by is the tenacity and the drive of people.
So looking back 20 years ago, what would you have done differently or the same?
Well, I'm only 26, so no, I'll be 43 in a couple of months. I don't think I would have done anything differently. I think we like to think that if I had a different life, I would get a different outcome. I think the outcomes that we get are the ones we're supposed to. And what we do with those lessons and what we do with those things is what makes the difference between the people that are in this room and the people that are not in this room. So I think that I wouldn't do anything different. I might have read more books. I might have went into finance so, I could make more money or something. But I think that this is where I'm supposed to be, so I'm perfectly comfortable with it.
Great. What advice do you have for people wondering if they should go back to school?
Just do it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of different people who will tell you a multitude of reasons, as the previous person spoke about, as to why you should do it. You should do it because you want to grow. You should do it because if you don't, there's possibilities and there are things you might not never be able to do if you don't take the opportunity. I tell you, as I said earlier, it's the investment in yourself. There isn't, at our not-for-profit, and I'm really glad a staff person of mine is here, Mr. St. Germain is here, and I didn't even know she was coming, but the initiative that she took to come to find out about is really exciting that I have somebody here. But the piece that's always going to be important for you, even in your current jobs or future jobs, there's going to be so much training you're going to get at work. They will promote you, they will train you, they will make sure you're prepared for the job they want you to do. But when you think about the job you want after that one, they're not preparing you for that one. There's that piece of it that you've got to do in order to get to that second level. There's a movie that, don't laugh when I tell you this, but if you ever seen Iron Man, no, not Iron Man, is it Iron Man? I'm not sure what, but it's Transformers actually, another robot movie. But there's Shia LaBeouf is in the movie, and he goes to get a job, and a gentleman says to him, "This is the job standing in the way of the job you really want. This is the education opportunity that's standing in the way of the job you really want, and you have to take it."
Great. So this is a very great advice. So everyone remember what Charles Archer has said, just do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would love to know if anyone has any questions, but.
Any questions from the floor? Okay.
I know you talked about your undergrad, your graduate, your certifications, but did you negate the fact that you go to graduate school?
Oh, I did actually. I was telling Dr. Yeager before I started that I've probably been in school my entire life. I don't remember an opportunity where I wasn't doing something, and most of the time it wasn't because I didn't have opportunity. It was because I was kind of bored. I wanted to do something else, so that way I could expand my brain. But I think the importance of a graduate education is you won't see it at the beginning. You'll see it as you go through the process.
I truly resonate with that, because I think during the process, we really see the transformation of the MBA students, really getting into the understanding of how to position themselves and how to make a smart career move and choices. There's another question I saw behind. Yes.
And part of it is that there is nothing wrong with following or developing a new passion. You've done it for a while and you're excited about it. It doesn't mean you can't add value in another way at this company or go do something else. One thing about working in our field is we work with people with disabilities, but we're now, because of all the things that we've been learning, we realize that we can go and do senior services, which are very similar. We can go help the homeless and get into affordable housing because there's so many parallels with what we currently do. So don't give up on your current job, but it's okay if you decide to follow another passion. We're located in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, in an area where is in some ways up and coming and developing. I originally grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, so for us to start the company in Brooklyn, where we were from, was very important to us, especially to be able to go back into the neighborhoods we grew up in and do the same thing. The one thing I write a lot about, and I recently wrote a book about creating unified teams, and the Everybody Paddles book series. And part of it is that when you look at the people that you're going to meet, seriously consider about the networks that you're building. And sometimes, I think the one thing that we miss with social media is, I met Glenn Martin from Just Leadership on Instagram 2 years ago. And I've seen both of our careers advance, and we're now really good friends and really good colleagues. And you will see him on MSNBC every once in a while. The relationships you're building now will build at Metropolitan, and I do hope you decide Metropolitan or any school, that these will be the networks of people that will help you later on. They will be the people you can call when you need a new job or you're thinking about a new career, or when your children might want to go and get an internship or something. So don't be afraid to make connections with a total stranger, because there is that advancement that obviously got us to the place in Brooklyn in Sunset Park. There's one other thing I'll tell you about that is that there's this concept, don't ever eat dinner alone. So even if you're not married or you don't have children, find a colleague that you can go to dinner with once in a while, and you'll be surprised what you learn from a total stranger. And there are people like me who want to talk, who enjoy talking, and you never know what advice people will give you in life.
Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, I really want to thank Charles.
Thank you
Asha.
very much.
Thanks again. Yeah, thank you.